Annenberg Media.
The human imagination is haunted by a fear of death, the most ancient and instinctive fear. A fear of oblivion, judgment, or a lonely eternity. Death awakens a dread that the spirit we value in ourselves as unique is disposable. We fear death itself, but also anticipate with horror how we may die. We fear dying in pain. We fear dying alone. And when mind and body slide from our control, we fear an extinction of the self.
Our images of death are the Grim Reaper, the guy with the black thing. All images of death are kind of scary for people. There are very few images of death except possibly after death. But death itself has a lot of negative images.
Throughout the ages, we encounter frightening images of death, of the decay and anguish that it brings, and of the terrifying prospect of damnation after death.
How can a spiritual person prepare for death? There have been many religious traditions which have attempted to instruct us in that. And the Buddhists, for example, have meditations upon visualizing your own death in order to try and prepare the person for that reality, which is inevitable. There's a long Christian tradition of memento mori, remembering your death, with the old monks using a skeleton, a skull's head, on the desk in order to remind you of your own death. And of course, there are Days of the Dead observed by Mexicans and Mexican Americans, in which people will actually spend much of a day in the graveyard visiting with their relatives who have died.
The Day of the Dead is only one of the manifestations of the Mexican personality. I don't think that it has an appropriate parallel or counterpart anywhere else. And in the celebration, they raise what they call an altar or an offering, where they put some candles and foods, which were the foods that were favored by the deceased. It is problematic to say that the Mexican attitude toward death is any better than that of any other culture. The fear of death is universal. Sometimes we see manifestations that appear to contradict this statement that I just made. However, I think that these are reactions underneath which one can easily tell that the old fear, the old ancestral fear, is there.
Religion has always attempted to assuage fear of death by giving a map as a world, as it were, into the next world. Sometimes that map is quite detailed, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes religions have added to the fear of death by portrayal of a state that's in some ways a state of suffering or a state of, shade, darkness, dusty, shadowy existence that is thoroughly unpleasant. But religions have also attempted to domesticate death by making it a part of life. The great traditions which have so many of which have taught that death is part of an ongoing experience of living, dying, being reborn, a kind of cyclic dimension which is so powerful in the Hindu and Buddhist worlds, or death as freeing us to move to another stage of development, which has been so strong in the Buddhist tradition, or within the Christian and Muslim traditions, and also within Jewish traditions to some extent, the sense of death as a door towards resurrection, towards a new and transformed life, not only of the soul, but of the body as well. So in these ways, religion has attempted to deal with that fear and to move beyond it.
The unknown has shadowed James Marianchuk for the 5 years that he has had AIDS. The disease itself is unpredictable and has brought him close to death several times.
Fear of the unknown is probably, I think it's something that everybody lives with, certainly not people who are terminally ill, people, also healthy people, sick people, whether you're male or female, gay or straight, everybody deals with a certain sense of the unknown. But I think, and I can only speak for myself, but I think people in my position, when so much is unknown, when you're dealing with a virus that is mutating faster than the medical community's ability to control it, when you're dealing with drugs that you will eventually become resistant to, I've begun already to develop resistance to one drug that I know of. And when you're dealing with healthcare cutbacks and hospital closures, that fear of the unknown becomes very tangible. It's something that you live with every day. Every morning when you wake up, you wonder if this is the day that your drugs will stop working. And that fear is a very big part of life. There's no set course that this disease will take. I've heard every story is so individual. It's impossible to know where this is going to take me. So in that respect, the fear of the unknown is just a huge specter that's always there. I thought I had experienced pain as bad as pain could be, but when I had the pulmonary embolism, I really thought that that was an episode where I specifically asked my father and my brother to stay with me a couple nights in hospital because I was afraid that I would not make it through the night. I think I asked my brother and my father to stay the night was because I was afraid to die alone. I wanted someone with me. I wanted someone to be there with me if I went. But death itself had lost its power to terrify me.
But we still have some people over 1992.
Dr. Willie Malloy is a gerontologist.
They have no order on their chart. That's right. So we have to do it.
His daily work involves him with people whose lives are ending.
Everybody is afraid of death. I mean, well, not everybody's afraid of death, but I think most people are afraid of dying. people are afraid of the disability at death and the loss of control and suffering and pain. Once you're dead, I mean, I don't have a problem once I'm dead because I'm free of this life or I'm gone from it, hope, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I'll deal with the next one when I come to it. But the dying is the problem. And most people are afraid to talk about it. They really want to block it out. They have a magical thinking, if I don't mention it, if I don't think about it, I don't talk about it, it'll never happen.
Stevie Sayers is dying of cancer. She suffers acute pain despite the help of a pain pump.
I've reconciled that everybody dies. Some live a long life, some live a short life. I believe that I will spiritually be somewhere after my death. I'm not concerned about that. And, but it's very difficult to think that I would be worse physically than I am today, because I keep thinking every day that this is worse. And how much more can I stand? So I'm not afraid of dying. I look forward to dying because I'm in the position that I'm in. I want relief from my physical problems. And I'm not afraid of dying physically per se, but I'm just afraid of the pain. That's all.
Our fear of death is essential fear. So if you can, it's interesting because the fear of death is so involuntary that one, and so deeply programmed, that if one can start to relate not to my death, but the death, when you can start to understand the universality of it, you can approach it in a much more intimate and much more open-hearted manner. It's not the tight belly of, I've got to overcome my pain. It's a, how do I let my heart touch the pain all beings share?
Stevie confronts the fact that her life is ending with the help of a team of caregivers drawn from her circle of friends.
Having the caregiver team together, they all will reminisce about their interconnectedness themselves and know that, you know, my life was one with them in a community of people and not isolated. And perhaps that, you know, maybe if I could make my death sort of less scary from the point of view of them approaching it with me, that, and they knew that I was spiritually in heaven or wherever, that when it came to be their turn to die, that they could feel more comfort.
One of the things people speak about, one of the things people fear in death is the loneliness of death. When it's your death, very lonely. When it's the death, 250,000 people die a day on this planet. That's the death rate, 250,000 a day. Of course, the birth rate's slightly higher than that. The more one starts to relate to death, the more one starts to relate to fear itself. And it becomes not just my fear, but the fear. Right now, we take our fear so personally. We judge it. We get angry at it. We try to manipulate it. We try to change it. We never let it simply float in our heart.
If we are patients in critical care, modern medicine can now keep us alive indefinitely. But we may be kept alive by machines, in physical pain, and in mental twilight. Nowadays, any one of us is at risk of this predicament, as frightening as death itself. This fear has caused many people to draw up a living will or advance directive, which prevents doctors from extending a patient's life to an intolerable point. Vivian Latta and her husband Don, who has suffered a stroke, are exploring this possibility.
I hated filling in this paper. I didn't want to do it at all, because all your life you don't think about death. You don't think about dying. It's not going to happen to you. You're young. I had a hard time when I hit 60 because I figured, you know, I'm not middle-aged anymore. I'm getting close to being old. So then, and after 60, it was hard to admit that your older person and that you have to make these decisions. And everything's sort of, it's coming to the end. And this was just one more thing to sit down and say, we've got to fill this in and make our decisions on this. And I found it very difficult to do. And I didn't want to sign it. It was all right to fill it in, but I didn't want to sign it. And I didn't want to take it to the doctor, did I? No. In fact, we've still got it. we haven't got the doctor's part in it, have we? No.
Dr. Willie Malloy has written a book to support his belief in the value of the advance directive.
Advance directives are wonderful things. They really are wonderful things. If you're trying to think of something that's better in the healthcare system, the only thing I could think that's better than them is a vaccination or something. They're wonderful objects. They solve a very difficult problem for us. At the end of life, when people are disabled or when they're critically ill, they tell us what the person wants, because that's all we want to know. We want to know what would that person have wanted. So they're very important for that. They tell us what the person wants so we can give the person what they want. They extend the person's autonomy into that period that previously the person lost control. Before, if you didn't have an advance directive and you got into that situation, you lost control of your life, somebody else would make decisions for you. What the advance directive does is it allows you to take control of that time of your life that up to now you had no control over.
Death doesn't frighten me at all. I've never felt that I was afraid, but I really, as I said before, this I want to have so that people will know that I don't want to have CPR if they're not going to be able to give me a quality of life. So that's just so important to me. I don't want to think that I'm going to. I guess it's because we're not too well now, and I have a serious lung condition, and it has taken over part of my lung, and it can flare at any time. And so I always figure that my death is going to be one of smothering, and that's scary.
I'm not prepared to die right now because of the family that's here. But the fact that if it's dying per se, it's all right. I could do it tonight.
Oh, don't talk like that. You'll have me scared. I'll stay up all night.
But
keep poking you.
Anxiety about death is uncontrolled. We're constantly in a sweat. We're constantly not feeling ourselves, can't concentrate upon things. Many of us will have episodes in our life where we go through this, where suddenly death is salient, or practically any Woody Allen movie, I guess, would do the same thing. And it's a curious thing that when a whole life is in turmoil, maybe you've lost your job. Maybe my best friend has moved away. Maybe I've lost confidence in myself. Not death things, but something in my life has been unstable. I can't control my life. Under those circumstances, I'll become more anxious about death. Now, my best friend comes back, you find a new job, whatever. Death doesn't concern me. I'm not going to die. So sometimes death anxiety, as strong as it is a kind of a symbol of feeling that our lives are falling apart. That means in helping our friends who express this anxiety, we need to look carefully, listen carefully. Is this person really and truly upset about mortality, about death? Or is death a way of expressing the whole sense of everything falling apart? Okay?
Because this is something I have to do. I have this notion, I have a very loose notion of heaven and hell, and I've always kind of believed that if you do take your own life, I certainly don't believe that you go to hell, but I'm not sure if you go to heaven either. And one of the things that I look forward to after I'm gone is being with my mother and with my grandmother and with the rest of my friends who have already gone before me. And I'm not sure that if I do decide to take my own life, I'm not sure that I'm going to end up where they are. So up until this point, that that issue has been enough to make me step back from it a little bit. But again, when I think of that sense of the unknown, when I think of my own mother's death and the pain that she went through, and when I think of my own last summer when my only thought was to make the pain stop, I don't know what the future will hold. I don't know if that feeling will be strong enough to keep me going until the end. I don't know whether that will happen or not. So this whole issue of having a way out is one that's very appealing and very comfortable for me anyways. The AIDS Memorial in Cawthra Park is a place that I tend to visit more now that I'm feeling better than I did when I was really sick, because I tend to get a bit complacent about my situation, and whenever I find myself thinking that it's okay if I skip a few doses of my pills, or if I don't get enough sleep or I'm not eating properly, whenever I start feeling that way, I go there for a bit of a reality check, and it puts my situation back into perspective for me.
If I die at 80, I've got 40 years to go. Multiply 40 by 365. How many days do I have left? How many Saturday nights is this? How many Friday nights is this? Where will I be when I die? You know, do you know that expression that when you get to shiver up your spine that somebody is walking on your grave? Where will I be buried? What will the world be like? I have all these questions in my head about dying and death that I find very fascinating. I think about it all the time. I think about death every day. Every single day I think about dying, I think about death. It's like a companion to me. I have this sense of being. I found the most comforting thing for me was the sense of living in the universe and being part of the universe. When I found myself thinking of just me and being selfish about it and I have to have this life, then I found that very, very isolated. So now I have this different sense of living in the world and being part of the world and sharing the world with all these other lives, or this one big life of whatever this is. So I don't fear dying, because I don't think that if I die, nothing will pass. It'll just continue to live.
I think fear of death is natural because it's unknown. We always fear what is unknown. But I also think that that fear can be balanced, can be transformed into a sense of joy when we think about death as not simply an end, but as an opening into something new and something wondrous. I've always been moved by the Pauline passage about we only see now through a mirror darkly, but then we shall see face to face. The idea of moving into the glory of God, which we shall behold face to face, is for me a source of potential joy that helps to assuage some of the fear about moving into an unknown. That often, even in this life, what is unknown, what can't be predicted, can sometimes yield some surprising and wonderful things.
Our fear of death resides in the sense that death is the opposite of life and will obliterate it. But a fear of death and dying is also intimately connected to the questions we have about the significance and worth of the life we are living.
Annenberg Media. For information about this and other Annenberg Media programs, call 1-800-LEARNER and visit us at www.learner.org.